Hey, David. I'm trying to teach myself how to make simple instruction videos about certain subjects, data recording issue, and so on and so on. And by practicing this, I was thinking of one good example that you may or you may not like. I was thinking about the engine brake situation with Jake Dixon lately. That you sent me the file where he's finally had a good result, and he explained it was all down to his team never had the engine brake set up properly. And then since Chess Davis came in, it was all better. And then initially we said, okay, but then it seems like ever since he is definitely uh, more than competitive again. So there was something, and I ran into Chess Davis in Misano, and he told me what he saw trackside, and then also what he saw on the computer. So and this is just a little video. Like I said, I need to try to practice anyway. But it's also for you to explain, to give an example of what you can, how and what you do in issues, and how you can check this stuff inside the data. I'll do it actually in English because if you think this is interesting for Neil, he will appreciate it and just forward it to Neil. Yeah, that's it. So we start with, in this case, the BMW software because I don't have the software from Magnetium Marelli. I definitely don't have the data from Jake Dixon. But if I go in the software on and everything that has to do with the engine brake, to keep it simple, this is quite likely as Marelli also has it in the Moto 2. We have a map where we can create different lines. And what I did here is create for every of the 6 gears another line that you can see here, and it is basically setting negative engine torque against banking angle. Now that's already quite easy because first of all you need to have the engine has to be as a three-dimensional model inside this issue software. But then if that's the case, then the program also always knows if there is whatever third gear, rider has a closed throttle, is on 11,000 RPM, and the bike's upright. This is the negative torque that we are allowed to give to the engine. And this comes from these target lines, as we can call them. So I got 6 target lines set up that helps me and gives free a certain amount of negative torque to the back wheel. It can never create more, but it can create less if and it's based on the banking angle, where obviously it doesn't matter when you're left or right. So this is the open loop situation. The closed loop is a bit more complicated, but also a lot easier in the end. Uh, this is probably what they do in the Marelli issue. Quite likely, the electronic guy can set for every gear, depending on RPM, probably depending on banking angle as well, how much either negative torque he wants to transfer to the rear wheel, or if not torque, then that's pretty basic. How much slip level do I want to have, maximum or minimum? You want to have during the braking phase your rear wheel turning slower than your front wheel, obviously, but not too much. So there is like somewhere between 5, 7, 8% is like the perfect number, because with that slip level, the rubber creates actually more grip and can help the bike stop. If it's a higher slip level, it's like a really very slowly turning rear compared to the front, then the grip level is already gone and quite likely the bike becomes quite unstable from the rear. So that's it from the issue side. To set up the issue, you need to look in the data first. So the basis of the issue is an engine model that is inside it. And like I said, then depending on how sophisticated they want to make it, you either decide per gear, per RPM, maybe also per banking, how much slip level you want to allow or not want to allow. And you take all that information from the data. In this case, I go to the data recording, obviously. And what I'll do is just grab a couple of signals that quite likely have to do with it. We are on the ASHA track, as you can see on the track map on the right bottom here. We are braking for turn number 1. So let's move this one over here. And in this window here, you can follow the value of the channels that are in this screen, where my cursor is. So at this moment, you can see that all the throttles are full open. We are in 5th gear. The bike is nearly upright. We have, and that's the most important thing. The white line that I highlight now, that we are following now with the cursor in the middle, this is my slip level the slip percentage between the front and rear wheel. Obviously, when we are on full throttle, it's a positive number because we are pushing ourselves through the air. That creates some slip on the rear wheel. I have a dotted line here on 0. That's easy for me to check if somebody did not make a mistake with the tire model, like in the pit lane or the out or in lap, when they're not pushing, it has to be 0. Also with banking. Um, and then I have another dotted line, and this bike likes minus 5% negative slip. This is a BMW Superbike, probably not the same value, and it's on different tires as well as the Moto 2. So, but I can set this dotted line where it makes it optically very easy to see, like in this case, shortly after the rider closes the throttle, and in red we see he grabs a certain amount of brake pressure. We go to the top, we see he shifts down from 5th to 4th to 3rd. And what we see is that in 4th already he arrives on a quite high negative slip level, stays there in 3rd for a long, long time until he really starts to open the front brake pressure again. That's also where something interesting is happening. This pink line here is the banking angle. I know it's a bit in between the wheel speed, but you can see that here is straight upright, here is still almost upright, but between here and here is where you really drop the bike quickly onto its knee, because here he suddenly has already 54 degrees of banking. That's really a lot of banking. So this turn in moment is also very important. I make two phases: the upright braking phase, where definitely you need to be able to stop the bike by trying the rear to make you help. But then there is the other part, turning in, where you also want the rear to help you. Um, if you want too much engine brake on the turning in phase, you will low side, but that doesn't often happen so much, because usually when you turn in, the RPM is quite low. There is not enough engine brake anyway anymore, which is exactly what we see happen here. Here we see that in the yellow line, we see where the real butterfly from the engine stays. So after braking, the rider goes to closed throttle, but the real throttle is, as we can see, more or less 16%. There's the blipper. We are in 4th gear, 16%. A blipper, 3rd gear, still 18% even. So the real butterflies are open 18%. Still, we have a high negative slip level. So I should open them even a little bit more in my ECU program. Here we see something interesting. That is the last part of opening the front brake. That's where you do a lot of banking already, as we can see, 53 degree of banking. We suddenly, the negative slip level drops to almost 0, which is obviously because here the butterfly is already completely closed. We see the yellow making a drop, and that it's closed. We don't have any more engine brake. This is probably the phase where MotoGP have the valve in the exhaust still try to help them at least something. Because this last part of the front braking with a lot of banking angle, that's where the super riders go for the rear brake themselves, either with the thumb or the foot, to make the car turn. And definitely it's a very important area as well, because if you don't have a negative number but a little bit positive, means the engine is still pushing the bike forward and the rider is braking against his own engine, making it like it doesn't want to turn, always go wide. Can be the engine brake. So this basically was in a nutshell what we can do with the issue and how we look at it in the data. One thing that I want to share with you as well for it, if this is the case, like a high negative slip number when the bike's upright, could be come from another reason. If the rider is Marc Marquez, who is so aggressive on the front brake that the rear goes up in the air, then if the rear brake's up in the air, you can do nothing. So I go to the exactly same situation, David, here. Same moment, same situation, just looking at other signals. On the top, I look in yellow on the rear suspension number. It's bouncing around in the straight line around the 11 millimeter. As soon as the rider closes the throttle, goes on the brake, the rear goes close to 0, but it's still moving around a little bit. Means it's not up in the air completely. It's in its stop out spring. So rear looks normal. Should be able to use some engine brake. Front, which is this red line here, just before we brake, we are on 60 millimeter stroke, and it goes down to 115, bottoming a little bit deeper, 180 millimeter. But this means, because this fork has 125 millimeter or something, and it's still moving, suspension is in its extreme position, but still moving and should be able to do something with the bike. So in this case, I'm sure I need to open my ECU software and go and try to adjust it. Well, that was it basically, David. That's what I wanted to share with you. I need to practice a little bit, and I hope it helps you. If you think it helps you, and if you think Neil will appreciate it, just send it forward to Neil. But